chances are you probably clicked on this video because you either A, built something that looks like this lovely oak box behind me and want to know how to build slightly better, or B, you already know quite a bit about building but want to touch up on some of the more technical side of things. Either way, this is the video for you. So, looking at this box as an example behind me, what's wrong with it? And don't tell me there's nothing wrong with it. If you can't tell that there's something wrong with it, what are you, stupid? It's ugly, it's bland, it's all the same freaking block. It looks just ugly. There are a couple of things we want to understand about building in order to make our builds look better. And those are the two things that we are going to be covering in this video. Don't worry, this isn't a clickbait video. I am going to tell you what we're doing up front. Though if you read the title, you'd already know. So I don't even know what the point of clickbaiting you would be. We are going to be talking about color and texture. This tutorial is going to be covering how those specific things apply to Minecraft. Though if you understand these principles, it's pretty transferable to other forms of art, like painting and sculpturing. Very fancy. As an example, to start off the video, I have this cool little tower here I built a while ago. So just looking at the tower, we can see a few things here. Let me bring my little pointer out. If we look at it from the bottom, you can kind of see it's all a pretty similar shade. You know, I think you could safely say, except for the little color here, it's all gray. But it's not all the same type of gray. And it's kind of interesting to look at. I hope so. Please like it. I built it. It's got layers of different colors. And also, the blocks are not all the same shape.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So the difference between the basalt pillars and the tuff is pretty easy to see, actually. It's just the flow of the texture. This texture flows upwards, this texture flows sideways. Therefore, putting them next to each other makes for very good contrasting blocks, even though they're super similar in terms of color. So if you went to school, you probably have seen one of these in art class. Color wheels kind of show how colors relate to each other because colors interact in very interesting ways. So colors that are close to each other on this color wheel are going to look really nice together. Whereas colors that are on opposite sides of the color wheel are going to be good at drawing attention to each other. As for texture, texture is how something feels. When you touch it, it sends a signal to your brain, hey, this is sharp, don't touch it again, you freaking idiot. Or, wow, this is soft, I want to touch this all day. Don't take that out of context, please. In Minecraft, we can't feel. Even though you can't feel the blocks, you can still feel the texture of blocks through your eyes. I know that sounds a little weird, but let me give you an example. Here are two pictures. One of them, you can tell it's sharp, right? Without touching it. You've probably already interacted with a cactus before and you know that's sharp. So that's the texture, it's sharp. And same thing with the picture of this blanket here. It's soft looking. And so, since you have most likely interacted with blankets before, your brain is going to tell you, hey, that's a soft thing. So I have a couple of block palettes here, just as an example. Now you can tell just from looking at it, there are lots of different colors. Or as the British people say, colour. Or as Australian people say, oi, put some freaking colour on the Barbie, mate. Oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? Anyways, how this kind of works is I start with a base color and then I kind of look around in my inventory at what other blocks match this. And I try to get different blocks so that I have several different textures to work with. And then the top section of these palettes are the highlighting colors. So what I'm going to use for foundations, for roof lines, etc. and so on. Now I've already got red and blue. Let's say I want to build primarily a darker colored structure. So I'm going to start with some deep slate. Any color that's going to look good with black. Black is pretty flexible as far as what colors you can use with it. It kind of depends on how you use it. But colors that are going to look really good are going to be similar shades. Gray and then kind of middle shades that transition. And then once we've kind of got this row picked out, picking something out that would be good for highlighting would be something more lighter. In this case, white is a pretty simple highlight color to go to. So I've got a few blocks here. Let's kind of see how it looks. Okay, this is our block palette in action. You know what? I'm actually gonna switch these. Now there's our block palette in action. So you can kind of see it flows from a darker color to a lighter color. That's how colors work. If you caught on to that, good job. You're going somewhere. You're a genius. Now don't let your head get too big, you freaking idiot. This also works well vertically. Let me build up a quick demonstration. So let's say this is our building. It kind of starts with the first floor being deep slate, our second floor being a darker color, our third floor being a mix of gray and then into whites, and then our roof being a very light white color. Now, if you kind of watch that flowing pattern I pointed out, you'll see how it draws your eyes upwards. This actually makes your builds look taller, which is always a fun little trick. So if you make the bottom of the build darker and then the top of the build lighter, your eyes are going to naturally flow upwards. And you're going to see, wow, that's cool. That build is so tall. That is so amazing. And that's what people say to me every time I see them. Something also interesting is that each of these blocks, even though they are very different blocks, they do look pretty good together. So they have very different textures, and that actually makes it more interesting for your eyes. If it's all the same texture, your brain is just kind of gonna blend it all together. But if it has variation in it, your brain is gonna notice that, and it's gonna be like, ooh, variation, my favorite. Now for our last example, I'll just kind of go through picking out colors. Our creative menu is very nicely designed with similar colors being placed next to each other. So let's say I want to build something out of brown blocks. So what's gonna look good with brown? Maybe a little bit of red, maybe some of this. Dripstone is a great block for this, and a little bit of wrought iron might be good too. And for our highlights, a kind of a lighter color, but not quite white would be good. So I like using sandstone for this. So let's plunk it down and see how it looks. Okay. Here's an example of our block palette. It doesn't look half bad for something I did on the fly. Now, if you really squint, you can kind of see the buildings already built there. But hey, you know what's better than squinting and pretending you can see? Opening your eyes and actually seeing, unless you're blind, which if you're blind and you've made it this far into the video, I really admire your dedication. Because this has all been kind of sight-related stuff. Anyways, I think I'm digging myself into a hole. While we're here, I think this is a pretty good spot to say that, as you know, I am pretty new to this space, but you've given my video a chance, and for that, I really appreciate you. You've already helped me out a lot by watching this far, but if you're willing to spend an extra second just liking and maybe commenting something that you like about building, or a cool color palette, or you know, how terrible my building skills are, I would really appreciate that. It would go a long way. Here are our builds today. So on the left, we've got kind of a fire station. At least that's what I was going for. You can see here, this is the foundation line. That's kind of in our darker highlight color, which is a little bit of an oxymoron, but that's okay. I'm a little bit of a moron too, and so are you. And then I also went with that kind of color for the door. As we're moving up, you can see it's not really an even transition from our base structure to the regular bricks. And that's intentional because it looks like it's flowing upwards. It's kind of a cool effect. And then throughout this brick structure, I've randomly put granite blocks. You can see from this picture here, brick walls on buildings that are older than like 5 years, they're not uniform in color like they are in Minecraft. Now, I have an add-on that makes it so the bricks aren't uniform, but adding in the granite kind of adds in that extra wear and tear type feel. Now, obviously a brick wall wouldn't look exactly like this, but if you do it right, it tricks your brain into thinking that this is more detailed than it actually is. And then you can see with our blue block palette, I just went with a pretty basic shop thing. I definitely didn't run out of motivation to build something cool. But you can see how even though these buildings are very different in colors, they look pretty nice next to each other because they're contrasting colors. So it's interesting to the eyes. Now, obviously this building needs a lot more texturing, but whatever. You'll live, you'll survive. Now your job is to take those skills you learned today and go and make your oak box look like a slightly better oak box. Or, you know, you can be a little bit more creative than that. I believe in you. You can do anything you set your mind to. I just realized I had those ugly blocks in my hotbar this whole time. Sorry about that. Anyways, thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya!